and welcome to a beautiful new week on Crypto. Oh my God, the market is looking nice after the weekend. We were in this Bitcoin decline. Now we're in an ascent. I mean, for fuck's sake, Jim Cramer just posted a picture of the national debt with the copy that just said buy crypto. Who knows where we're going, but let's take a look. Boom. Regardless of everything that's happening, there is one very clear narrative going on in the cryptocurrency space right now, which is that we are coming for the banks with better products than what they have. And this story is being grabbed and utilized by the people over at Coinbase with this new marketing campaign that's just saying, hey, the big banks are coming for another bailout by attacking crypto. They don't want you to earn rewards on your stablecoin holdings. Now, what is going on here? This is a direct result of the Genius bill. Now, inside the Genius bill, there's apparently a caveat. They discuss that the issuers of stablecoins, which are very few in the entire grouping of the country, these are asset issuers, they are unable to take the yields. They're basically taking a dollar from the public, buying a T-bill with that dollar bill, issuing a stablecoin against that dollar, and keeping the treasury bill yield. Now, that yield could pass along, right? That would be an amazing product and very obvious, but what the banks are demanding is that no, this is not the case. They do not want this because then the stablecoins are just so competitive against bank accounts, which if a T-bill is around 2% or something to that effect, I mean, bank accounts offer practically nothing. So they know they have no competition here. Now, what they're really getting mad about is the crypto industry. Exchanges like Coinbase have discovered that taking the word yield and just changing it to something like rewards gets around the Genius Act. That is all fair and well. But like I've been discussing throughout my stablecoin week of different project presentations, even if the issuers can't offer yield, the banks are still fucked. The protocols can offer yield. We're seeing so many good yield-bearing opportunities. Unlike traditional finance, you can really loop these things quite easily with a few more button clicks, and you can maximize your yield with great ease. So the reality is the banks are waking up. They see how competitive this is going to be, and they're completely aware that they don't have a good competitive edge in this race. What I'm loving about all of this is that Coinbase is pumping up the volume. They're clearly seeing this attack from the banks picking up steam behind closed doors. We're not hearing that much about it because why would they want to tell us about it? They're very concerned that their product is inferior. Coinbase is taking the opposite approach. They're saying, hey, let's pump that volume. The more that the customer is aware that they are being grifted by the banks, the better it is for all of crypto. So long and short of this is clear, definitive proof that the crypto flipping is happening. The banks are finally fighting from their back foot, that they are scared that this is a better product. And well, let's be real, it just is. Now, add in the proliferation of the major stable coins, the mass adoption that's occurring, the acceptance of cryptocurrency in the United States and beyond, and we're in a really exciting space. Moving on to something I just love to see, Shane Copland, CEO of Polymarket, the OG prediction market on blockchain rails. We got to remember, Shane was raided by the FBI under the previous Biden administration, all after being attacked by the CFTC for running an unlicensed futures market in the United States. And let's be real, these are just random predictions, right? But Polymarket blew up with the Biden-Trump presidential race in which the voting became absolutely nuts. Now, what's crazy is Shane's opposition, a company called Calcy, actually collaborated with Antonio Brown to try to bury Shane under a pile of dirt when he was attacked by the FBI. They came out and shared private DMs, which again aren't the best source, but they did leak of the Kalshi team colluding with Antonio Brown to try to make Shane look terrible. But now not only has the FBI cleared him of all misdoings or any sort of accusations, and the CFTC is awaiting providing the U.S. public access to Polymarket, but Shane announces humbled to be speaking at the SEC and CFTC joint roundtable today. I'm on a panel with the CEOs of the most iconic exchanges, ICE, NASDAQ, CME, CBOE, and more. Incredible to see regulators embrace young innovators alongside industry heavyweights. How much can change in a year? And this is coming from the SEC saying we'll be hosting a joint roundtable with the CFTC to discuss regulatory harmonization priorities between our agencies. So this is all pretty fascinating. Shane is a college dropout. This guy here, I mean, I knew him when he was very young. He dropped out of NYU and basically at 15 participated in the Ethereum ICO, was probably a millionaire by like 16, 17. I mean, dude's been absolutely on a tear. And Not to mention that he's just a good guy. I actually really like him as a human. But what I'm talking about here is we have this Gen Z or younger millennial curve coming in and hosting the major regulators about what the future of capital markets looks like, because blockchain is unlocking this internetization, this protocolization, this digitization of all things finance. And we are just seeing it finally be respected, brought into the room to hear and learn and build to figure out a future where we can offer more robust services to more people. It's truly, truly exciting. Moving on, CZ announces that he's going over to Bhutan. Now, I mean, CZ's been going to a lot of different countries like Pakistan. And in a nutshell, the reason for this is that a lot of the world is turning towards Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as they look at the traditional fiat systems, the power of the US dollar mixed with the chaos of the United States itself. And they're saying, hey, we don't love what's going on here. We're all subjected to your central bank policies. And like, we're at the end of the whip. We're just getting whipped around. So Bhutan actually supports 40% of its GDP from hydroelectric powered Bitcoin mining. They had a hydroelectric dam that was built and provided surplus energy that they simply didn't have a use for. So years ago, I want to say around 2012, they turned it over to Bitcoin mining. And I'd like to think I have some slice in this. I used to do martial arts with the cousin of the Dragon Emperor back in around 2009, 2010, 2011, and I touted a lot of crypto and Bitcoin to this guy. I showed him a lot. So hopefully, your boy had some influence. But lo and behold, Bhutan is now one of the few nations that just has this epic war chest of Bitcoin. And like El Salvador, like Pakistan, I mean, the higher that Bitcoin goes up, the more they will have an independence from the global monetary order. This was so impactful that the IMF went after El Salvador, saying, hey, look, we'll only help the country out if you stop with your Bitcoin progress. They are looking at this as something that really does remove that global order of control. So really exciting to see. And Bhutan's supposed to be a beautiful country up in the Himalayan mountains, just at the tip of it. They actually measure their country on gross domestic happiness. So it's a very happy place, largely due to its roots in Buddhism and celebrating humanity and togetherness. So really cool to see that he is doing this world tour. You can sum this up as CZ establishing roots in a variety of smaller nations that are ripe for adopting cryptocurrency and, of course, maintaining Binance's edge as the exchange of choice. Now, one thing I saw today, and I got to talk about it because it's a lot of bullshit, and I'm going to counter this, is that Swift to add blockchain ledger to global payments network. And of course, we're seeing things like Tempo, like the Plasma blockchain that are going to bring stablecoins online to point of sales, that are going to give opportunities for savings accounts. They're going to basically be a neobank app that is all supported by the blockchain rather than traditional rails. And of course, Swift is looking at this being like, we got to compete. But guys, this is not the first time we have read this headline. This has happened time and time again. And let's be real, these private ledgers that are used by these massive organizations, they always suck, they always fail. Public ledgers are proven to be the real joy and the real rationale behind blockchain. We want that transparency, we want that utilization, we want that shared state. That's where the power comes from. So this is something that surely you will hear as an anti-crypto calling card, as like, oh, we can just add blockchains to other products and they will work. No, you cannot do that. Building a chain is a very tough thing to do. Not only is it technologically complicated, but you need a social buy-in. The reason Bitcoin has crossed this crazy chasm is because it has a religious-like zealotry to it. Ethereum came with the world computer and decentralized compute, and Solana came saying, hey, we care less about decentralization and more about performance. We now have these three holding very firmly. It's going to be tough to compete with them because, quite frankly, any new high-throughput chain, like, what can you do that Solana can't do? Ethereum continues to prove its decentralized prowess and its ability to maintain this globally open network, even if it is a little slower and more expensive. Bitcoin only secures Bitcoin. It doesn't do anything else. It's highly expensive on the electrical side, but it is the belief that there is a hardened money like gold that can exist for the internet side, the digital side of the world. So all of this is to say, if you see this on CNBC and they try to tout it, somebody in a suit being like, oh, well, Swift is going to be just like these stablecoin chains. No, they're not going to be. They've tried in the past, and their product always sucks, and it fails. Last but not least, I just want to talk about, this DAT craze is like absolutely insane. These digital asset treasuries, people are launching them pre-TGE for tokens now. So these companies are coming ahead of the mainnet launches. It's gotten to be utterly insane. But one fun thing here is this is Andre Cronja's Flying Tulip, raises $200 million at $1 billion valuation valuation. Let me unpack this a little bit. Andre Cronje, one of our crazy builder philosophers who's had huge impact just on his own inside of cryptocurrency. He is the founder of Yearn Finance, which is essentially automated vaults where you put stablecoins and they go out into DeFi and they automate a lot of processes and you earn that yield. And his claim to fame is that he actually builds and explores a lot in production. So he'll launch these blockchain products and he knows that they're not battle tested or fully audited, but he keeps on building them and improving them while they're live. So there's a lot of risk if you're early in an Andre project because you might get exploited. But at the same time, he is pushing the boundaries. He's a very edgy builder. He built the Sonic blockchain, which is an EVM compatible chain. It's high throughput and it shares a lot of its revenue. It tried to come with this self-sovereign sharing thing. But what's really interesting here, Flying Tulip is bringing out a token economic edge. And I really do love looking at token economics. So their thing is that they want to build a DeFi ecosystem. They're looking at what Hyperliquid's doing. They're looking at things like Thorchain and Rujira and people that are just building these wild competitors to the core exchanges, to all of the markets, right? Whether it be lending, whether it be perps, whether it be predictions markets. We're starting to see that they're all kind of the same thing, right? On a blockchain rail. It's just the exchanging of interests of different sorts. So Flying Tulip is coming at this in a different way. They're saying, hey, we raised $200 million. Their edge is that if you donated, let's say, 100 grand in Ethereum, there will be a permanent redemptions option that if you want to take all of the Flying Tulip tokens, the FT tokens that you paid for with that 100 grand of Ethereum, there will always be an option to exit. And what you will get back is 100 grand worth of ETH. It will unlock that for you. So they're saying we are going to secure the floor while building this entire ecosystem of DeFi-centric applications. And if the token goes up, then hell yeah, you're absolutely in the money. You're going to keep that FT token. You're going to use it and leverage it. And of course, in things like yield-bearing, high-velocity kind of environments, hopefully that FT token will be put to use and you'll earn yield and you'll never want to sell it. But if this all fails, you can go to that exit contract. You can get your $100,000 in Ethereum back. Now, is that going to be the same amount of ETH as you put in if ETH accrues value? Like, no, they can't guarantee that. But you will always have your downside protection. So this is a very interesting evolution in how we're raising capital around new ecosystems. This is not even an existing blockchain DAT, right? What we're seeing with Bitcoin and Michael Saylor, they're buying up existing assets. He's actually launching an entirely new platform, an entirely new chain with the digital asset treasury share model coming out first. So you buy into shares with whatever you have. They launch the network. You have downside protection the entire time, which means that none of this capital is actually really available for them, right? They have to have it available to give back. What their goal here is to say, hey, we take this $200 million and we start doing what revenue generating chains do. We generate yield, we generate revenue. We use that revenue to start buying back the token. And eventually you drive the treasury up above 200 million so that you do actually have some capital to reward with. Now, their whole theme is that they'll get FT builder tokens, but they're not taking this capital and using it for themselves, right? They're not paying their salaries out of this. Basically, the entire 200 million has to be available for redemption. So as they build and as they grow beyond the 200 million, let's say they get to 400, then they have 200 million to start pumping back into the ecosystem for incentive rewards, for funding new projects, et cetera, or for FT buybacks, right? We're seeing the revenue meta, but we're seeing the proper business model come to life here. So this is a truly fascinating blend of DeFi ethos, this new digital asset treasury model, which is selling shares on publicly traded vehicles on the NASDAQ, on the S&P, so on and so forth. And Andre, who is known for taking these crazy outlandish ideas, bringing them to reality before they're even battle tested or really checked for security bugs or anything of that nature. He just ships. He just moves forward and he pushes forward and he basically says, you take the risk. If I blow you up, that's your fault. It's not my fault, but I am innovating. I am building. So this is really cool, really novel. No one's done anything like this. And of course, he just closed on 200 million. Now, one secondary trend that we can see from this is that venture funds that I am close with are having trouble raising new rounds. The general LPs, the limited partners, the people who invest the money, they're no longer taking their money and putting it into early stage venture rounds on the private market. Instead, they're giving it to these digital asset treasuries, which are buying existing tokens and selling them as shares or really amortizing the price as shares. players, and instead private capital is being reduced. So we will see probably a lag here. There's still a lot of money being deployed into venture, and crypto venture right now is really hot, but we will probably have this period where new funds are struggling to raise capital, and you will see that private venture is a little bit more difficult. Obviously, with the advent of amazing yield on liquid positions, I mean, a lot of people are getting into stablecoin only funds, because if your returns are anywhere between 12 and 30% and your underlying collateral is not volatile, well, that's a pretty good way to defend your wealth. And what this means is that we're moving out of the immature phase of wealth creation. Of course, the earlier you were in this risk maturity parameter, right? If you were an early Bitcoin, you've obviously made a ton of wealth. Early ETH, ton of wealth. Everyone's moving now into wealth preservation, saying, hey, I want stables. I want my money to not drop down 90% every 4 years, things like this. And that is where we're getting these emerging stablecoin funds. So that is all to say that the investment appetite around cryptocurrencies is evolving. It's becoming more mature. It's basing itself more on stablecoins. It's basing itself on revenue generating applications, which again, remember, we could not build under the Biden admin and Gary Gensler. That was just a no-go, full stop. So now we're only seeing increased coordination between the regulators and the builders, which is great for everybody. Truth be told, it does mean that we're looking at companies that can generate revenue and be real healthy businesses. It does also mean that they will be going after shady players and really true criminals, which they were not doing in the past. They were going after just authentic ecosystem builders. So all of this bodes extremely well for the future of crypto, which is breaking through aggressively. Of course, the banks are starting to look quite afraid. I mean, even if they launch crypto products now, they're going to be behind the crypto natives who have been doing this forever and ever. And of course, every child born in the past few years is going to have a crypto or a Web3 wallet way before they have a bank account. So the future is written. Crypto is winning hard. But just as the recently released and quite wonderful movie, One Battle After Another, is about, it will be a continuous fight. However, the revolution is looking very healthy. The money is changing. The world is moving towards digital. And with that being said, we've seen some wild volatility in the markets. Hopefully, you took advantage of this. But as always, don't overlever. Stay safe. Give me a like and a sub, because I would appreciate it if you just want to respect me as a human. And I will see you tomorrow.